Broadcasting live from the bleeding woods on the plain of Duskmourn, this is TapTapConcede. Welcome everybody to TapTapConcede. My name is Graham. Joining me is Kathleen.
Hello.
And Cameron.
Huh?
And today we're going to talk about Duskmourn. We've been off for a couple weeks. Thank you for your patience, but we're back, and there's a new set already happening, so let's talk about it. But before we get into it, if you want to order yourself some, get your pre-orders in at Card Kingdom. Check out cardkingdom.com/LRR. Putting that LRR on there puts our affiliate code on there, which tells them that we're sending you there, and that's important to us because it helps them know that they should keep supporting us to do the things that we do, like this very show. And we really appreciate it. Tell them we sent you. Say loading ready run send me button, please, and they'll give you a 1-inch button. I don't know if they're out of how about you don't, but if not,
I mean, it's still funny.
Still funny now that
now that you can't.
Yeah, it's now that one can't in modern. Also, Grief got banned. Also, this show and everything we do is brought to you, of course, by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun, or by becoming a member on this YouTube channel. Shoutouts at the end of the video. Well, Duskmourn is truly upon us imminently because at time of recording next Friday, though really at time of airing this Friday, it's the PPR. That's right. Pre-release is back. It's happening on Friday the 13th. Ooh. And we have a guest. We have a special guest. Shauna McGuire, the author under a pen name, but it's not a secret.
Her horror pen name, Mira Grant.
Yeah. Is going to be here at the Moonbase with us to play world first Duskmourn pre-release sealed deck gameplay, and also we're going to be talking about we're going to do an episode of Tap Tap with Sean for next week, all about the story.
I'm so excited
to
get the author of the story on to discuss the story with us. I am very, very happy. So there's lots of story stuff. We're not mentioning it this week. Hold that for next week. But today we talk about Duskmourn in general.
Yeah, it's a big old house. Don't go there. Thank you.
Yeah.
This has been a PSA.
Yeah, simply do not go into the cursed realm.
Yeah, so I was talking with someone on Mastodon about this. I think it was Fruan. And I had like this. We were talking about one thing about how the survivors, in the story, it talks about how like the survivors like name like their kids after like concepts from their old where they came from, so that like those ideas don't get lost. And that was a very cool idea and everything. And we were talking about lore stuff, which again we'll get into next week. But I was like, also as an aside, who's having kids? If I'm like trapped in a giant haunted house, I'm not like, well, time to set up society, I guess. Like I
mean, people are adaptable, right? People had kids during the Black Plague.
Yeah, but I'm living now in 2024 when people are like, interest rates. I don't know if it's the right time to have kids. And it's like, what if you're being stalked by demons? Is it the right time to have kids? Like,
then again, there are demons all over the Magic Metaverse.
Yeah,
multiverse.
Yeah, my thought is that maybe not every single part of the house is like a malevolent entity out to eat you at every single time. Like, obviously, people got to eat, right?
Yeah, that also I don't understand.
It was the
Are there farms?
There was. We're going to get into the lore next week.
I'm sorry. I'm asking lore questions.
We're getting sidetracked.
Okay, so the high level is it's a house. The house is expanded. It's now filling every potential part of the plane.
Yeah, there's omen paths everywhere.
Yeah,
there's a demon who is dreaming the house into being.
Yeah.
Yeah. Valgavoth.
Did
I get it right?
Valgavoth.
Cool.
Valgavoth.
Oh, we have the card already. Cool. Yep. Valgavoth Terror Eater is 6 black for a 9/9 Elder Demon with flying and lifelink. Sure. Ward. Sacrifice 3 non-land permanents.
Holy moly.
Okay. If a card you didn't control would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. Okay, sure. During your turn, you may play cards exiled with Valgavoth. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than paying its cost.
That's greedy. I love it.
I mean, there's a lot of words there, but
it's a 9/9 flying lifelink.
Yeah, 9/9 flying lifelink, incredibly hard to kill.
Yeah.
You can sort of ignore the second two sentences.
Well, I mean, if they try to kill it, then you can bounce their magic back, right?
Mm-hmm. It's kind of inherently a 4-for-1.
Yeah. Like, that seems good.
Cool. Dang. All right.
I mean, if I'm paying 9 mana for it, I definitely want... Yeah.
I think the best way to remove Valgavoth is just to block him with 9 power, which is, I don't actually think that's a problem so much in Commander.
Yeah, like 9 flying is...
In the air?
Yeah. A bit tricky. But probably, yeah.
I mean, there have been
plenty of EDH boards where this guy ain't swinging.
Yeah, exactly. He's just sitting there as a... But then, if a card you didn't control would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile instead. Like, your opponent, like, he doesn't matter that he's swinging. Your opponents are still casting spells, presumably.
Yep.
Looking at this guy going, now you can cast my spells. So even if he's not swinging, like, the power is there beckoning to you. I don't know. Yeah. I think he's a good card in Commander. But yeah, I think you could probably fairly easily get 9 power in the air, depending on the deck.
I agree. Yeah.
This is neat art.
It's merely 9 fairies.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. I like the art.
Yeah.
It's like the demon is the house, kind of?
Yes, and it's not symmetrical either.
Yeah.
I was very prepared mentally for this to be symmetrical, and it's not.
I kind of like it, though, because symmetrical might read a little bit as too Phyrexian, but this seems organic.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because, Phyrexia was a very horrible place.
Yes.
It had a lot of horror tropes sort of baked into it with, like, the knives and the
teeth and bones.
Skin and
This one's pretty cool.
Oh, I love that. Oh, it looks like he's steepling his fingers.
Oh, yeah. So the showcase variant, well, one of the showcase variants by artist Pig Hands is this very cool, like, tone-on-tone. There's a very specific era and style of movie poster that this is evocative of to me. The one for Valgavoth here is sort of him, I assume him, and the sort of doorway. But I think some of the other ones have been.
There's this one as well.
Wait, what? There's a different colorway?
Yeah.
Huh.
Those are the only 3 that I can see on Scryfall at the moment.
Oh, I thought I saw one earlier on Scryfall that had like the cool sort of two-tone thing with like someone's face over.
Yeah, each of like
That's Zimone, I think.
Yeah, and Tyvar has one as well. And who is the other character in
Nico.
Nico, right.
They've on Scryfall, Victor, Valgavoth's Seneschal, has one with Victor and then like a moth overlaid. There's a character called the Swarm Weaver. One sec, I guess I'll talk about Victor while Victor's up here. So Victor, Valgavoth's Seneschal, 1 white black for a 3/3 human warlock with Eerie, which is like Constellation Plus, if you want a shorthand for it. It says, whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, surveil 2. If this is the first time this ability has resolved this turn. If it's the second time this ability has resolved this turn, each opponent discards a card. If it's the third time, you put a creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control.
So that's 3 enchantments entering the battlefield, or unlocking a room and 2 enchantments or something.
Now, I have a question. I have a rules question, and maybe nobody here is aware of how this works, but the wording fully unlock a room, does that mean both halves?
Both halves.
Okay. So it's only if it's not when you just play a room and unlock a door, it's when you unlock the second half as well.
Correct.
This triggers. Okay.
That makes sense.
But the first half of the room is an enchantment entering the battlefield.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you can't double dip. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So because what you can do, though, is play a room with an unlocked door, and that's one trigger, and then unlock the second half, and that's the second trigger.
And then that means your opponent discards a card.
Neat.
And if you had 12 mana and you somehow also played an enchantment creature that turn, then you get to put something from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. But I think at that point you're probably winning the game anyhow. You've played a creature and fully unlocked a room.
I mean, EDH has, that's just turn 4 for some people, I think.
That's true. I'm trying to think about this from a limited perspective.
Yeah,
I see a 3/3 for 3, and then maybe I get to do some surveilling, which honestly is pretty good.
Yep. Yeah, I think if I surveil off this a couple of times, I'm probably going to be reasonably happy playing a 3/3 for 3.
Check out the Swarm Weaver, who also has one of these. This style of showcase art. 2 black-green for a 2/3 legendary Scarecrow.
Not the bees.
When the Swarm Weaver enters, create 2 1/1 black and green insect tokens with flying. And then Delirium, as long as there are 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard, insects and spiders you control get +1/+1 and Death Touch. I love that.
Yeah.
I want to build this deck. I want to build this this commander deck. This seems very, very cool.
Bees.
Not the bees. Like, look at his head. Its head.
It is a beehive.
With teeth.
Yep.
Because it's a big old scarecrow.
I don't like horror movies. I have to address this.
I was going to say, yeah.
I'm not a horror person. I'm scared enough of normal events. Right? Like, I have anxiety. Let's be honest here. Like, somebody phoning me is scary. I don't need the jump scares of something that has too many teeth. So I'm not.
So broadly speaking, how's Duskmourn sort of landing for you? It's not for you. Hey,
Bloomburrow is for me.
Bloomburrow's great.
Matt, like the Modern Horizons set, loved that. Thunder Junction, also not so much into cowboys. It's just not something I've ever cared about. Like, it's just not my vibe. Give me a Professor Layton themed set where everybody's just like running around being French and inexplicably needing you to solve puzzles. Like, that's my vibe. Like, sorry.
I don't want to
matchsticks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to sound too much like a curmudgeon myself, but certainly because it was the set around about this time. I mean, again, Duskmourn is earlier than the fall set is usually. But like the fall set last year was Murders at Karlov Manor.
Markov.
Markov.
No, it is Karlov
Manor.
Ha ha.
And no, that wasn't the fall set. That was the January set.
What?
Because By Law and Order 2 came out
yeah.
as that released.
What was the one in the fall? Oh no.
It was Mom?
Nope.
No.
No, March of the Machines was early summer.
Oh, it was
Wilds of Eldraine?
No.
Throne.
Lost Caverns.
Lost
Caverns
Caverns.
of
Vixen.
LCI.
Then it was
Yeah.
Then it was Eldraine, right?
No,
Man.
Eldraine was first. Okay, but yes, Lost Caverns. I like the flavor of Lost Caverns, honestly. I just like it's fine. Hey, I just want to point out that like this is something that I harp on a lot about. I like all sorts of music that most people think is annoying. But it's my taste, it's for me. And I always say just because I don't enjoy listening to the dulcet tones of Taylor Swift doesn't mean there's something wrong with me or something wrong with her. It's just not for me. So I'm gonna respectfully acknowledge that horror's not my jam, and if it's your jam, don't feel attacked, feel pandered to and enjoyed, hopefully, that all of the things and references that you get are in this set. I don't get that many of them because it's not something I'm super invested in, but I'm glad that other people are excited for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Where I was going with that is that the sets to recent memory, which apparently is shorter than I thought, the sets to recent memory that I have enjoyed the most are the ones that feel the most the Magic the Gathering. Like Bloomburrow and Modern Horizons 3 are the ones that I've been like, this is great.
Those were bangers.
And I've had less enjoyment from, for example, Thunder Junction or this. The weird thing about Duskmourn, so I'm not a horror person either. It's never been like my sort of a genre I've enjoyed. This isn't really like, I don't know. It seems like a lot of the references in here, and sort of not not just references, not just direct references, but sort of the archetypes and sort of touchstones and visual allusions as well as thematic allusions and stuff are from sort of a specific era of, late 70s into sort of the 80s movies that I don't even think you would necessarily call them horror today. Like,
that's true.
There's like slasher flicks, which is different from horror to me.
Yes.
And like even most sort of zombie movies, like movies with a killer or movies with zombies or whatever, are not even necessarily like horror. And I've watched some of them and enjoyed some of those, and that's fine. And so like, I get some of this. But yeah, a bunch of this I'm just sort of like, okay, cool. There's stuff that I find neat about it. Like I do like, I'm obviously a fan of analog aesthetics, and so I enjoy, like VHS stuff like that.
It is kind of like the golden age of horror, though. Like when we got so many of these tropes, and no, but I guess but it was like an explosion of things, sort of lodged itself in popular cultural memory.
The explosion is a great word, like the explosion of like VHS and
stuff.
Movie rentals and things like that, and sort of. Standing around it wasn't a Blockbuster for me, but standing around the Blockbuster,
Rogers Video,
or whatever on like Friday night, being like, I don't know, well, that looks like an interesting one. Let's rent this, So there's like a sort of a level of nostalgia there, and there's certainly plenty of things here that I can go like, I get it. That's this, cool, neat. But yeah, I think I'm with you that like broadly speaking, this is not necessarily a set that's for me, but there is also plenty of stuff in it that I'm like, oh, this is cool. Mm-hmm. So
I will say, like, I don't dislike every horror movie. For example, I think probably my favorite horror movie, if I had to say one, would be there's a Japanese movie called House.
Yeah,
which
I really
is
like House.
Really visually inventive and has really beautiful shots in it and stuff, and also is a scary movie, but sort of like, are there any House references in here? I feel like there should be.
I mean,
there
might
might
say
be.
that the acrobatic cheerleader could be a House.
I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't. Well,
literally a character in a house.
Well, yeah, but like that also could be many things.
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't seem specific to that movie. Like, what if you had like a cursed like wedding gown or something like that?
Right.
Or like a mirror or something. There's probably a cursed. I don't know. It's not like the house is super original either. There's playing with a lot of like established tropes and stuff. Mm-hmm. So, but the point being,
cursed mirror reprint.
Oh, well, the set's not out yet, so we'll have to see,
that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I've been keeping myself intentionally unaware of the stuff prior to the PPR so that I'm more surprised when I open my sealed pool.
Mm-hmm.
Cameron, you like a good spook.
Yeah, I love horror as a genre.
Yeah.
I think it is a genre of storytelling that is getting finally a reasonable amount of academic attention as to how it works and what it does and why we find it compelling. And the answer is it's kind of vibes based, right? I would say horror as a genre is whatever. I find it like very pure art in that if art is something that invites you to engage with it, but does not offer you a lot of guidelines on how to do that, right? That invites a lot of like that invites you to bring a lot of your personal experience into it and see that reflected. Horror does that very well by letting your mind kind of run wild with what it doesn't show. Right? It's an odd thing to have mechanically play out in a game because I think horror in a lot of ways works alongside things like magic, in that a magic system is kind of a contradiction in terms, in that it has a strict mechanical understanding of it, right? So like a horror card game where the monster's abilities are explicitly spelled out,
right,
as to what they can and cannot do, somewhat goes against the strengths of the genre. Even if you have, I don't know. A lot of monsters in horror have rules, right? It's a very old thing, right? Bloody Mary only shows up if you say her name 3 times in a mirror.
Dracula can't stand garlic.
Yeah. Vampires can't come into your home uninvited.
Right.
But they always get around it, right? Because there's a compulsion there.
Because the people don't necessarily know the rules.
Yes.
Then maybe they find out the rules, usually in the crusty old tome of something or whatever, and then also the monster finds a way to subvert it or something. But
or they have to make a deal with it.
Yeah.
Right. I think horror works very well when the characters have to make a deal with the devil.
Right.
Right. Where you're inviting in something because it brings something to the table that you need in that moment. Right. That's also tragedy. Where was I going with this?
Horror is about surprise. Magic is about, I need to explain what's going on to you because we need to be able to play the game.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That there is a, when there's a strict magic or mechanical rule set to it that is clear to everyone, which you need in a gaming piece, right? That you realize what it is and you stop having to be terrified of it or horrified by it. You can merely be afraid of it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm afraid of, questing beast lands on the table and I'm like, I think what I'm experiencing is fear, but it's certainly not horror.
Right.
Right.
Right. You're not like, what is that?
Yes.
You're like, oh God. Can I read that? Pass it over.
I think was it Anne Radcliffe? Now I'm forgetting like very basic things, who said that terror is the thing that you flinch away from. Horror is what you cannot look away from.
So there's lacking terror, which I think is a big thing in horror movies, is they're really trying to up the terror. Jump scares and what's happening, suspense, that primal ooh, bad feeling in your gut.
They're both fun and important components.
The uncertainty.
Yes.
The uncertainty.
But this is, the idea of the demon dreaming a plane into a haunted house that contains everything it can imagine as being scary, and people becoming trapped into it and also being forced by circumstances to contribute to it. That's a hell of a premise. Yeah. I like that premise a lot. And I look forward to coming back to this at some point when it feels like they wanted to get in all of the references.
Mm-hmm. It's sort of like we're not going to get a second shot at this.
Yes.
Yeah, here's this thing. Oh, this is a beloved trope.
Yep. But then again, there are also just like bangers like Meat Hook Massacre 2. I saw that card and I was like, yeah, okay, I love this. I love every element of the Meat Hook Massacre 2.
See, that's the thing, is like that's sort of what I was saying as well, is like, okay, like when they initially announced Duskmourn, and it's like, it's horror, but it's not gothic horror like Innistrad. It's a different kind of thing, and it's all in this. The entire plane is one house. I was like, that's fascinating. I cannot wait to hear more about this. I'm in. And then they're like, it's inspired specifically by sort of late 70s, early through late 80s horror. Rather than, like the gothic horror of Innistrad or the cosmic horror of Lovecraft or whatever. And it's like, okay, cool. And then it's like, by which we mean, remember Stranger Things?
Yeah, I do.
And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, sure. People got like high tops and mullets, and there's VHS tapes and televisions and stuff, which is all my jam. But I was still like, okay. Well, but then, so like calling a card Meat Hook Massacre 2 is
very funny.
Very funny. I love it. Brilliant.
I love it.
I feel like, but okay, here's my thought. I feel like we can have Meat Hook Massacre 2. No one's going to be annoyed at a few Meat Hook Massacre 2. Magic's always been very stupid in some times. Yeah. Remember? Inflate the toad, right?
Yeah.
Like Goblin Balloon Brigade is a beloved card for a reason.
Yeah.
We've always been able to be like, well, that one's just silly. But if it's too much, for when it's like an acrobatic cheerleader, right? No shade to the card. I believe it's 2/2 for 2, right?
I haven't seen it.
She gets flying.
Oh, okay. I guess
it makes sense. Yeah, it's a 2/2 for 2. Like, is there a reason she's literally just there from high school? I guess she just got sucked in.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Um,
By the way, just so that you can read the cards or hear what the cards do, Acrobatic Cheerleader, 1 and a white for a 2/2. Human Survivor, that's a new subtype, with Survival, which is the beginning of your second main phase. If Acrobatic Cheerleader is tapped, put a flying counter on it. This ability triggers only once. Survival is a mechanic where basically if they've gotten into combat, or if you've figured out some other way to tap them, but generally speaking, if they've gotten into combat and lived through combat, then something happens. In this case, it only happens once, and it's a flying counter, but there's other cards that do different things.
Oh, that's pretty cool, honestly. I love the design. And like, I don't know, it's just maybe it's just a little bit too hee-hee.
Yeah, I find that this set does a lot of cards that I think are interesting and fun, and a lot that are like jingling keys in my face, trying to get me to like the thing.
Right.
The strikes and gutters, basically, is what I'm saying here.
Can we go back to Me Took Massacre 2 for a second? Because I want to actually read that one out. It's expensive. It's XX quad black. So it's XX black, 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 black. When it enters, each player sacrifices X creatures. So to clarify, for 5 mana, each player is sacrificing for 6 mana, each player is sacrificing 1 creature.
Ugh.
For 8 mana, each player is sacrificing 2 creatures. Whenever a creature you control dies, you can pay 3 life, and if you do, you bring it back into play under your control with a finality counter on it. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, they can pay 3 life, and if they don't, you return that card under your control with a finality counter on it.
In Limited, I see this playing out as like, I pay 6 mana, and I get a 1/3 or a 2/2.
Mm-hmm. But like the other Me Took Massacre, it's an enchantment, so it sits around and it keeps doing stuff. So like the first ability, the actual like sacrificing stuff, is probably not going to be like, but maybe if you could just play this for 4 black.
Yeah, I think this is fine on 4.
And then just as combat happens and creatures die naturally, those effects keep happening.
Yeah, it suddenly becomes sort of this backbreaking problem.
Mm-hmm. I don't think this is as miserable as
OG.
What was the one from Wilds of Eldraine? It was half an adventure, and then the enchantment was at the beginning of your upkeep, return a creature from a graveyard to play under your control.
Oh, it was that cycle.
Yeah, I keep wanting to say a ley line,
something of finality or not finality, maybe, but yeah, that one was messed up.
Yeah, that card sucked. I hated it. Yeah, Me Took Massacre 2 seems cool.
I also like that it's opened the door for what I presume would be Me Took Massacre 3D.
Yep. Me Took Massacre Origins.
Yep. That's the eventual reboot, certainly.
Yeah. Me Took Massacres.
Because the original one was The Me Took Massacre.
Yes.
And this one, they didn't have room on the type line, so this is Me Took Massacre 2.
Yeah.
And you need Me Took Massacre 3D.
Yeah, I tweeted about this, and people were like, what about 5 Me Took 5 Massacre? And I'm like, that's not getting the vibe, my dude.
That's a Fast and Furious joke.
Yeah, that's a Fast and Furious joke. No,
Me Took versus something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I could see a because there was like they did this with like Scream, which itself was already started from a position of being a satire of the genre, but I could see Me Took Massacre, but the first A in Massacre is a numeral 4.
Yep. Yeah, and then they have to go to space at some point.
Gosh, I hope so.
Man, the Hellraiser in space had such a great premise, wherein the space station was a lament configuration.
Oh, I forgot that Hellraiser went to space as well.
Yeah, it sucked out loud.
Well, so did Jason in space. Sorry, Jason X.
You take that. Okay, Jason X was a terrible Friday the 13th movie, but it also ruled and made me laugh a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, I've never laughed.
That's a strong recommend for me, honestly.
Yeah.
I'll watch a horror movie that's objectively silly.
I mean, the most I've ever laughed in the movie theater to a movie that wasn't a comedy was Alien vs. Predator. It was hilarious. The bit where it looks like they're going to kiss, it was comedy gold.
Yeah.
Were other people in the theater laughing?
Oh, howling. This was, James, you were there, right? We went on Christmas.
Yeah, this is Boxing Day.
Boxing Day, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it looks like they're about to kiss, and then the explosions go off, and they're running in slow motion, and her hair and the Predator's dreads are bouncing in slow-mo as they run away from an explosion, and it's incalculable how stupid
Wait,
it
it's
looks.
not the alien and the predator about to kiss?
No,
No,
because
it's
it's
the-
alien versus predator. So the predator teams up with the humans because the aliens are. You can't communicate with the aliens, but the predators can sort of communicate with people.
The predators, they're just doing their like coming of age ceremony. The
Yeah.
predator's gonna go back and like study like predator kinesiology at university.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. This is spring break for the predators.
Yeah, not
right.
Ooh, maybe they are gonna kiss.
not to say that the aliens aren't smart, but predators are like sapient. In
Yeah.
a way that the aliens aren't. So the predators and the humans are like, hey, also it's one predator and a bunch of aliens, and so obviously
But
it's bad.
yeah,
I have to stress this.
people have been trying to rehabilitate some of the previous entries in the Aliens franchise with Romulus doing well, and folks no.
Folks, they're just bad and it's okay.
Yeah. Although I will go to the mat for Alien 3, which I think is a vastly underrated film.
Sweet. Where were we going with that, or should we look at more cards?
Let's
I
look
can't
at more
remember. I can't remember
cards.
what you were saying.
Yeah.
Okay. You had a thought, but I didn't want to cut in.
No, we were talking about Jason X.
Right.
Meat
Really talking about
Hook
Jason
Massacre. We were talking about sequels.
Right. There we go. Okay, sure. All right, let's see some other cards.
Yeah.
Were there Cameron? I think there were some cards you were keen to look at.
One of the ones that really interested me. Let me bring up my text, my notepad entry here. Disturbing Mirth.
Disturbing Mirth. Ugh.
Yeah.
Speaking of Hellraiser, black and a red for an enchantment. When it enters, you may sacrifice another enchantment or creature. If you do, draw 2 cards. And when you sacrifice Disturbing Mirth, manifest Dread. So, quick pause. Let's talk about manifest Dread real quick. We recall, you may recall, manifest from Fate Reforged, which was you just put the top card of your library into play as a 2/2 creature face down. You can look at it, your opponent can't, and if it's a permanent or creature,
I think it was only
if it's
it
a
was
creature, you can turn it face up for its mana cost. Manifest Dread is just better because you get to look at the top 2 cards, you pick which one you manifest, and the other one goes into your graveyard, which is an upside. So that's very cool. Manifest Dread seems really powerful. Now, what's going on here, Cameron?
This is not quite good enough to go in Aristocrats, but it's a cool concept, and I'm in favor of it.
Because it can't sacrifice itself.
No.
So it
but
becomes
it
a
could sacrifice
plank.
another Disturbing Mirth.
True, you could loop them.
Yep. You can manifest. I don't know. I just think it's a cool card. This is a signpost uncommon in Rakdos colors. I think portends fun things for a limited environment, at least for my sake.
Right.
I look forward to the one time I'm able to draft 2 of these, and then none of the nuts and bolts commons come back to me at all. I'm foreseeing sorrow, but excited sorrow. In fact, I'm foreseeing Disturbing Mirth.
This being is giving large Cenobite energy.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell. Not being a Hellraiser aficionado myself.
Yes, yeah. There's kind of like the yeah, definitely one of the Cenobites here.
Yeah.
Another card I think is going to be fun. I think we need to talk about Norrin.
Yeah, there's a Norrin.
What?
Norrin.
Who did Norrin upset to get sent to Duskmourn?
I don't know, but Norrin's here and is not happy about it. Norrin Swift Survivalist. For 1 red, you get a 2/1 human coward. Norrin Swift Survivalist can't block. Whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you may exile it. You may play that card from exile this turn. So Norrin enters the battlefield. You can swing with, Mog War Marshal, and then your opponent, the fool that they are, will block Mog War Marshal, allowing you to cast Mog War Marshal. This is never going to happen. Right. Norrin is a card that I'm really excited to see someone break. And it's either going to break in a way that's cool or in a way that sucks. There's going to be no middle ground here. Somebody is going to use this to flicker something that automatically wins the game, or there might be like a fun tempo strategy here.
I must be conflating Norin and Squee in my head. For some reason, I always thought Norin was a goblin.
Yeah, no, I always used to do the same thing.
Norin's always been human.
Yep.
And I'm Graham. Hello. Whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you may exile. Huh.
Yeah. I was thinking like maybe there's some way to get
what a
value
weird way to blink stuff.
Yeah, it's a very red way of blinking
It's
things.
great. Honestly, I really love the flavor here because it's just like, I'm going to swing in with my dudes and I don't really care if you block them because they're all 1-drops. I'll just recast them.
Yeah.
Everything has vigilance, sort of.
Yeah, the problem is like you want things with ETB effects. Those tend to be a bit costly. Mm-hmm. Like the ideal here is like Mog War Marshal.
Yeah.
Right? When it leaves the battlefield, you get a token, and when it enters the battlefield, you get a goblin. But then nobody's just going to be like, oh, I have to block this Mog War Marshal, otherwise I'm going to take one.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, all right, well, send it through.
Yeah. Like maybe there's an Ophidian with an ETB effect that presents your opponent with a dilemma instead of an annoyance.
Well, I mean, I would say that they don't block it, and then you deploy Red's other thing, which is combat tricks.
Yeah.
You use all that mana that you aren't going to spend recasting anything because it's going through, and you turn that 1/1 into a 4/1.
Yeah.
And then suddenly maybe they do feel like blocking it next turn, right? It's not like their creature's going to die.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to the artist here. There's excellent foreshortening in Norin's left arm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks awesome.
Yeah. Great art.
Yeah, really skillful.
Yigit Koroglu, I believe. I'm sure that's not how you're supposed to pronounce that name.
Following up with more cards in Cameron's Great Aristocrats deck that he's never going to build, and it'd be quite bad if he did, we have Clockwork Percussionist.
Oh god. It's 1 red mana for a 1/1 artifact creature monkey toy with haste. When it dies, you exile the top card of your library, and you may play it until the end of your next turn.
Yeah.
I love that, because I can't remember when they introduced toy. I don't think it was in a... Was it in an unset? No. I can't remember when they introduced toy, but I like that they're... Cool. Okay, so Clown was a creature type that was introduced in Unfinity.
Yes.
Right. But even though that was an unset, that's still a subtype. And so in this set, they're like, well, we got clowns. Guess we're doing clowns now. And so they just have cards in this set that are clowns. And it's like, oh, right. Because we have that now. So, okay. I love that it's a monkey toy.
I like that this is an artifact creature for Delirium.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yep. Yeah, it definitely has a home in the Delirium decks. Haste 1/1, when it dies, you can just like, you don't manifest the top card of your library. You can just like peel it, and if it's a land, cool.
I like that they've changed. They've gradually adjusted this ability. Like red gets this card draw and you exile the top card of your library, and then you can play it. But there's some timing restrictions, so you don't have like an 8th, like just an extra large hand.
Yes,
but I like that they have sort of adjusted this up, and now I'm seeing until the end of your next turn.
Yes, I think.
Because, otherwise it's such a feel bad when you're like, I wanted that removal spell, and if I hadn't have done that, I would have been able to cast it, and now I'm wrecked because I don't have any mana.
Yep.
Right?
Like the end of your next, that
Next
one
turn.
word makes it so much better.
Yeah.
I kind of love this little guy, even if, I don't know, maybe he's not very good, but I like him a
No,
lot,
I think
and
he's
that
great
counts
in
for
the right
something.
kind of, like, I think there's a very, very, very aggressive red aggro deck brewing, I would assume, with stuff like this.
Other card that I like is Saw. It is just an equipment.
SAW?
Yep. +2/+0. I think it is
Ha!
2 mana, equips for 2.
Oh, it's
Equip
literally
creature-
Saw.
Yeah, equip creature gets +2/+0. This is really more of a pizza wheel, I want to say.
Yeah.
It's not really powered. I don't know how you would go through a log with this thing. But whenever equipped creature attacks, you may sacrifice a permanent other than that creature or Saw if you do draw a card. This seems like a fairly decent enabler in Limited. right? It's definitely not Skull Clamp. Nothing is Skull Clamp, and debatably Skull Clamp shouldn't be Skull Clamp. But I think this comes closer than a lot of things that we've seen recently.
It's just free sacrifice, and you cut a card out of them.
Yep.
Also, having a person restrained lying on the floor in a room full of pipes and stuff
It's very soft.
and chains is very like the first Saw movie. So
Yeah. We made this sketch.
I was just going to say, bring me a sandwich.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially with that's what the thing's for. It's for cutting
All the wood.
It's for cutting all the wood. Yeah.
Yeah. Axe hand.
Yeah.
Good times.
What else did I really like?
Oh, I got one actually. I wanted to talk about
Shoot.
Haunted Screen. So this is a mana rock, and this is something.
so clever.
This is incredibly clever. This is something Ben noticed. I don't know if you picked up on this, Cameron.
Jay and Ellie also pointed this out on Twitter.
It's very good. So it's 3 mana for an artifact, and it taps for white or black. It taps free for black and white. Mm-hmm. The static. But if you pay a life, you can add red, green, or blue.
Yep.
If you want RGB, you have to put something into it. Otherwise, it's just static. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. That's so good. It has another ability I've never actually read. For 7 mana, put 7 +1/+1 counters on Haunted Screen, and it becomes a 0/0 spirit. Activate only once. Sweet. So it can just turn into a ghost. But the fact that it's by default black and white, but if you add something to it, you get colors is very, very fun.
Yes. Yeah.
Whoever designed that has the biggest smirk on their face.
Oh my god!
Like,
yeah,
come on.
that's too clever.
Yeah, it's very whoever made this
I have
is
to say-
justified in feeling smug.
I have to say, like, from a mechanical point of view, this set seems great.
Yeah, it's all very clever. Mm-hmm. I think. I agree.
There's a lot going
How
on.
much do I care about theming? That's the Kathleen question.
I mean, that's the best part about Magic, right? Is that if you don't like the theme, just cover the top half of the card.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, right?
Right?
Like,
And just hope the set plays well. Whatever.
yeah, exactly. I don't actually, like, it doesn't really matter. Like, I have, like, the very famous Kathleen grip where I just, like, see the names of the cards of the mana cost and just put them in a row. Because I actually just don't, like, as much as I love Fluffy Bunnies and Bloomborough, like, I'm trying to take your life total down to 0. And whether I do it with Mrs. Bumbleflower or a Haunted Screen, it doesn't really matter to me. So, yeah.
Another card I kind of enjoy is Popular Egoist.
Oh yeah, right. We've got the word bestie on a Magic card in 2024.
Yep. Yeah, it's only what? Yeah, it's relevant.
Yeah.
People still call each other besties.
It's true. 2 and a black for a 3/2 human rogue, and for 1 and a black, and sacrifice another creature or enchantment. Popular Egotist gains indestructible until end of turn, and tap it. And whenever you sacrifice a permanent, Cameron, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life.
So let's ignore that holding, like, I'll give it indestructible and blah, blah, blah. But although maybe that's very useful, because that sacrificing is great. And, like, you know, it is a reactivatable sacrifice thing.
Yep. Yeah, and like it will trade up, right? You can swing in with it. It reminds me a bit of Cartel Aristocrat, which got protection when you sacrifice something. I don't love paying 1 and a black for this. That's aristocrats get better when their abilities get cheaper, right? It's like how Goblin Bombardment is amazing, and what is it? Reign of Expendables is terrible.
Right. Do you have, you running a lot of treasure in aristocrats? Because that sack ability still hits off treasure or food.
Yep.
Or
I mean, you can.
other things.
Usually you want your opponents to be doing that so that what is it called? It is a devil. It is 1 black red. Whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, it does 1 damage to them. Mayhem Devil.
Mayhem Devil?
Yeah.
Mayhem Devil.
Thank you.
Which, comes as a rude surprise if somebody's on eggs. This is the loosest kind of blood artist you would want whenever you sacrifice a permanent, right? This is the bottom tier,
Right.
I feel.
But
of
it's still,
blood artist.
it's still, like, she's still been to art school.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I be a little rude about a card name? bearing in mind, for anyone listening who might be on creative text, all three of us actually have done this job. We know how hard this is. Mm-hmm. But there's a card that is basically a direct reference of Children of the Corn, and it's just called Orphans of the Wheat.
No, I mean, like, this is a commune with dinosaurs.
Yeah, respectfully, from someone who's been in that job, this is a 5:30 p.m. on Friday kind of name.
This strikes me as a 2 a.m. on Sunday kind of name.
Yeah.
Where it's like, did anyone put anything down for the...
Orphans of the Wheat. I'm sorry. I only just saw this card looking at Scryfall, and
either that or this is a playtest name that everyone saw and was like, well, we can't change this name.
Just kept
right?
chuckling.
It's like Commune with Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I saw this and I was like, are you serious? And the card was like, yes, I'm serious. And I'm like, okay, well, I respect it then.
Yeah. For real? For real. Oh, all right. Well,
okay, yeah. No,
I wasn't familiar.
As it turns out, it's pretty real.
Right, go on.
1 and a white, 2/1 human. Whenever Orphan of the Wheat attacks, tap any number of untapped creatures you control. Orphans of the Wheat gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each creature tapped. Each creature tapped this way. So this is a lord for your survivors.
Oh.
Right? This is actually pretty good if you untap with it.
Yeah, because then your survivors get to be tapped post-combat without themselves having to attack.
Yeah, presumably you're taking one in the teeth on the crackback.
I mean,
but
you can make this you tap 2 creatures and there's a 4/3, and you know this gets big. There was a card, it's like Ledev Champion or something. It was a 1 green white for a 2/2 with this ability in Ravnica Allegiance. Mm-hmm. Or Guilds of Ravnica. It also pooped out soldiers, which was kind of the key. It was in the Selesnya Convoke thing. Anyway, this is a annoying effect, right? And it's like, okay, well, they're only attacking with that thing. Wait, why are they tapping everything? Oh, this is an 8/8, right? Like, yeah, they can get in a hand. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think more importantly, you're getting survivor triggers. Dang, okay, that's cool. I was wondering if there would be ways to do that without putting your creatures directly into combat, and it turns out, yes.
Yeah. Also, I mean, Children of the Corn, I would need to look it up, right? The actual origin of the folklore around Children of the Corn. But I remember it only becoming like a horror trope around this time in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And before then, it was just kind of like, yeah, no, there are kids that sometimes just show up in cornfields.
Because
right?
they're orphans.
Or they grew out of the corn. Right? Mm. But I would need to look that up.
It started as like a not necessarily terrifying piece of folklore. It was just like, oh, a corn child.
Yeah.
But then it became like and they're evil.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Orphans of the Wheat.
Which I saw it, and like I said, I kind of fell in love with it. This feels like a Meat Hook Massacre 2 to me.
Sure. All right. Fair enough.
You know what? Different strokes for different folks. That's got to be, you have to just accept that not everybody is going to be. And you know what? Our diversity makes us delightful.
It does. Eventually, I think what I'm going to need to do, like going back to an earlier fork in the conversation, is, do you know that those 2 axes charts of structural purity and functional purity, where it's like, you know, you would have something in the top left that is the definite, how you would define something.
This is a sandwich.
Yeah, this is a sandwich, and then like, well, you know, a sandwich has 2 pieces of bread
and then the opposite corner you have like spaghetti carbonara because it's got meat or like multiple toppings and like a carbohydrate base or something.
Or either that or like an opera is a sandwich because it has an overture and then you applaud at the end.
Yeah,
right, and then there's filling in the middle.
Yeah,
right. I feel like I'm going to have to do that for the aristocrats, where at the top left you have like Falconwrath aristocrat, and at the bottom right you have, I don't know, pyroclasm.
Right.
Or balance.
You know, pyroclasm's in this set.
It is, which is what made me think of it. Like, I looked at it and I thought, is pyroclasm the best aristocrats card in the set?
You got a flamethrower.
Yeah, and it's cooking all of the blue crabs that mill.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In my younger days, I would meticulously catalog all the terrors I encountered. These days, I mostly just kill them with fire. Yeah, I mean, fair. Oh yeah, the Scrabbling Skull Crab is a single blue mana for an 0/3 crab skeleton. Now, I don't technically speak. I think that from a taxonomy, don't worry about it. It's got Eerie. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, target player mills 2 cards. So it's another in the series of crabs what mill you.
Yep. I wonder if this might actually be a callback, not to a horror trope, but to the, in Japan, off the coast of Japan, in one particular reason, there was a battle between, feudal lords at one point, and one army wound up getting pushed into the sea, essentially, and destroyed. And thereafter, there was a crab someone found that had a shell. It had a mutation, and the undulations in the shell suggested a samurai war mask. And so people would throw those crabs back. And now those crabs are the only crabs you find around there.
Huh.
Because they were like, oh no, this one is, it reminds me of those guys who died. Let's let this one live.
Huh.
And now I wonder,
I kind of want to look that up.
Crab.
That sounds super cool.
Yeah, Carl Sagan talks about it in Cosmos in the episode on evolution.
Oh. Neat. Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering if they're hollow. Is it because if it's a skeleton, then there's no meat inside, but it also has a human skull on it.
It's like a hermit crab. You got to kill a bigger guy if you want to move up.
Yes.
Man, if only my brain would get bigger when I did that.
It's everyone with smaller brains forming an orderly queue behind you to pass the skulls down.
Yep.
Yeah. I love that. If you haven't seen hermit crabs passing the shells down, look that up. It's amazing.
Nature's great.
Yeah.
Hey.
Anything else we want to touch on today? Or we'll be talking about plenty more.
Nothing from me.
Duskmourn.
I'm just curious what you think of these card frames.
Whoa, what the heck?
Oh, yeah.
For some reason, they remind me of...
They remind me of Dungeons and Dragons.
These ones... Okay, of all of the card frames we've ever gotten, the ones that are just completely wild, the ones that are interesting pieces of art or that evoke posters, these are the ones that I look at and think, this is not a Magic card. And I don't know why it is.
Weird.
I don't...
So we're looking at the Overlord cycle. And they have, what's curious is they still have the black border.
Yes.
But then they are also, they're technically borderless, but they have a border, but parts of the creature are extending beyond the border.
It's a border for show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
this looks like, I've seen trading card games that look like this.
Yes.
But not Magic.
Yeah, it has all the elements of a Magic card. It's, in fact, a very orthodox way of displaying the information on a Magic card.
It's all in the same place.
Yeah, it's all in the same place. There are elements of the border that we traditionally see.
Yeah.
Yet I look at this and think, oh, this is Pokemon or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what this is.
I think it's the drop shadow around the...
Whoa, what the heck is this one?
So that'll be the foily.
That's the foily one.
Wild foily version one.
Oh, okay. So it's still a black border. It just... this is meant to emulate the foil appearance?
I don't know. I don't know if there's still a black border or not, but this is just
these
a
are
photo.
Japan cards, right?
I was going to say, I think these are Japan only asterisk, but you can get them in collector boosters.
Yeah, I think it's possible to get these.
We recorded some Crack-A-Packs for the PPR, and on the back of the thing it says that, it explains the infinitesimally small percentage chance there is to get a Japanese showcase card, and I guess it's these.
And then I don't know what's going on with this one, because it's we've seen these before, but then this has these cool circles.
I think the circles are a foil effect?
I would assume so. I don't know. It looks neat. There's so many different kinds of Magic cards.
We're currently looking at the Wandering Rescuer.
Yeah, the Wanderer's here.
Yep.
Lost her spark.
She's happy
She's
about
thrilled
that.
about that. And yeah, check this card out, by the way, real quick. 3 white, 3/4 human samurai. It's cool. Flash, neat. Convoke. Double strike. Other tapped creatures you control have hexproof.
Yeah, you can summon her.
Surprise.
And she protects your board.
Yeah.
Right? This doesn't quite protect your board from a wrath, but it does something. I'm sure there's a circumstance where you get somebody with this.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Removal spell. No. And now you can deal with her next turn because she has double strike and she's a 3/4.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I like that. I think, you blank a Doomblade with this and you feel pretty good about your day.
What's the horse skeleton? Who's that?
In the background?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's supposed to be a horse skeleton. I don't know. We'll talk about... I'm not sure.
I have questions about the Wandering Rescuer. Still, that's cool. Yeah, I don't know what this is. I guess it's some sort of foil treatment. I don't know. You can probably order it on cardkingdom.com/LRR.
Please use our affiliate code. It's important.
Don't do what I always do and forget to enter the affiliate code.
Exactly. Come back on Friday for the PPR. And if you can't watch it live, then it'll be up on this very YouTube channel as soon as we possibly can. I think I wanted to mention Dragon Shield, who are also a sponsor, generally speaking, of some of the Magic stuff that we do here, like this show. And you can check out a link below or our affiliate code, which I do not recall offhand, but I will find that out so that we can further incorporate it into the beginning and ending housekeeping of this show in future. Also, everything we do here is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. And by becoming a member here on the channel. That's going to do it for this week. I have been Graham, joined by Kathleen.
Oh, thank you.
And Cameron. And James.
That's bit infringement. You stole my bit.
Heather gets these online. Thank you so much for watching. Talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.